within 20 minutes of just chatting with her for the first time ever in my life, she decided to spend $15,000.
Hey, podcast listener, you're about to discover insider tips, tricks, and secrets to making more sales and converting more prospects into customers with email marketing. For more information about the Email Marketing Podcast or the Autoresponder Guide, go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast.
Hi, it's John McIntyre here, the Autoresponder Guide. It's time for episode 102 of the McMethod Marketing Podcast, where you'll discover one simple thing: how to use an automated marketing system with email to convert your leads into customers on autopilot while you sleep or play with your kids or hang out in Thailand and ride motorcycles like me. Today I'll be talking to Kavit Haria about a bunch of stuff, actually. He's been doing some really interesting stuff with the business, and he sent me an email out of the blue one day just saying that the way he's generated the most amount of revenue in his business is email marketing. I thought that was interesting because people talk about social media and these different things like that, but email is still king. You know, you got all these other things going on, but email is really that conversion device I don't think it's going anywhere either. Unless we all start doing email with Facebook or something like that. But then it's still email, it's just email on Facebook. So email works, and that's what Kavit's on here to talk about. He talks about how to go from idea to business, from going from a raw idea to a six-figure business very, very quickly in the first 12 months, and how to do that with email marketing, how to plug it in. And also we talk about how he's doing it in his business right now, how he's using email marketing to generate huge windfalls in his business. To get the show notes for this episode of the McMethod Marketing Podcast, go to themcmethod.com/102. Now, three things as always before we get into the interview. I've got one review. I'm going to start with that today, and the review is from the 15th from the United Kingdom, and it's 5 stars, and it starts like this: holy cow, so good. I found this podcast because I wanted to hear from Neville Medora, but I had it on autoplay, so continued listening while I was doing the chores, and my God, this is easily the best podcast I've found on the subject of copywriting and marketing, and that's what I do, and it has a huge wealth of information. I'll be downloading the show notes for many of these. It has made me rethink my marketing and inspired whole new methods and avenues for me to go down, and it's the only podcast in my subscriptions that I truly can't wait to hear the next episode of. Check it out before you do anything else. That's an epic review. Now, I hope the 15th, if you listen to this podcast, you're a great, I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl. You're a great guy or a girl, or both, whatever you happen to be. And thank you a lot for the review. I've got a massive smile on my face right now. I'm jumping up and down and doing cartwheels, and really appreciate it, though, okay? If you want to leave a review, if you want to make my day, head over to iTunes, search for the McMethod Marketing Podcast, and you will find it. Leave me a review. Leave your website, too, if you like. I can even, and then I'll read it out on the show. Make you famous. Give you some groupies like I did to Sean last week. That is that. Now, this week's McMaster's Inside of the Week is stories. Something I keep coming back to. And there's a reason for it, and that is stories work, stories sell. And if you don't know how to tell stories, you're really handicapped when it comes to your marketing. This is why Gary Vee, this is why all these kind of guys, they talk about stories being the linchpin of good marketing. Okay, so you owe it to yourself to learn how to write stories. And that's why I've got a product or a training program inside McMaster's, which is all about how to write stories that sell. That's literally the name of the product. The idea is very simple. You can start with an idea like, well, there's a green smoothie next to me right now, and that's the start of the email, and then you seg into some pitch by basically talking about, this great green smoothie, it's got blueberries in it, and you know what this green smoothies reminds you of? It's all about being healthy, because if you want to be if you want to do good in business, you got to be healthy, and you keep this is going to take a little while, but you keep following through that. I've done this before in other episodes, where you keep taking the story like that, and you finish up by saying something like, and that's why I've created this 3-part health training program inside McMaster's, which is going to show you the hot entrepreneurial secrets to health and wealth, something like that. That is the idea. So that's this week's McMaster's Insight of the Week. And the last but not least is if you'd like some personal one-on-one attention for your campaigns, instead of writing it yourself, instead of listening to the podcast, I can do it for you. But you have to email me. You have to let me know. The spots go very quickly. So shoot me an email, john@themcmethod.com. We'll hop on the Skype to have a quick chat this week or next and see if it's a good fit. And that's it for now. Today, let's get into this interview with Mr. Kavit Haria. It's John McIntyre here, the autoresponder guy. I'm here with Kavit Haria, a guy from London who I just got on the phone with. He emailed me a couple of weeks back, right? And turns out he's in the internet marketing space. He's doing some, or even just the business space. And he's got some really cool stuff that he's up to. And one of the most interesting parts of the email he sent me was that the most successful way he's been able to generate generate sales for his own business has been with email marketing. So he's gotten very good at using email and, using email to drive sales. And what I find really interesting about talking to all these different people like this is it often comes back to fundamentals, but it's also everyone's got their own slight spin on how they want to do it. And I think it's one thing to take away is that there's no perfect way to write an email and make money, or even just to build a business. And that's a question I get a lot. And I think that's a question anyone who's in the business of helping other people grow and build businesses is what's the perfect way to do this? It turns out there is no perfect way. There's just a bunch of different ways that you got to try and test and see what works. So anyway, today we're going to talk about some of a bit about Kavit's business, what he does, what he helps people to do, which is essentially, from what I understand, is to take someone from idea to a business and then do 6 figures in the first 12 months. So he's got a pretty cool service that he's operating, and I love this idea of email marketing being the biggest sales driver. So we're going to go in a couple different directions here and see what happens. Have some fun. Kavit, how you going, man?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for this.
Man, thanks for coming on the show. It's always good when I get emails out of the blue and someone says, "Hey, I've been listening. I've sort of been. We never chatted before. We never talked, but here's what I do, and here's something's working for me with email or marketing." It's just crazy, man. How small, not just how small this world is, but sort of like who comes out of the cracks sometimes.
Well, yeah, as I said to you, I think I've been listening to this way before you developed it into something really pretty amazing. And I remember you were talking at that time about driving around a motorbike and all sorts of things in Thailand, and it was really quite interesting. I got to hear a lot of different advice and insights, and it was pretty cool how you were really niching very well as the autoresponding guy. And I've always just whenever I've had time listening to some of these podcasts, and they've been really, really good. So I thought I'd reach out and share what I have.
Good to hear, man. Well, appreciate it. So before we get into like the nitty gritty of what you're doing with email marketing and some of the business stuff, give me a broad picture overview of what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I started online nearly 8-9 years ago, and I'm a musician, so I play the tabla, which is an Indian drum. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's really cool. You should Google it later.
I'm Googling it right now, the tabla.
So I had a really good music career, and I realized at that time that people were finding me, playing music, learning how to gig, learning how to promote my music. I was doing some really good stuff at that time. I was mixing Indian music with like Western music. I mean, my background is that I'm Indian, but I'm born and brought up in the UK. So I was doing that, and then I realized that I have some knowledge here. And I had a couple of friends who were doing some stuff online, so I started to package it all together and share it. I wrote ebooks, I wrote video courses. I'm trying to tell this to you very quickly, but I put all of that information together into a business, and I was selling all this stuff online. What happened was, at that time, I learned about email marketing. That was the first time I ever did it. And I remember this service called Constant Contact. I'd signed up to them. I'd set up a newsletter funnel. I'd start sending monthly newsletters. People would read them. I would get a lot of readership. And it was amazing because I would send out one email, and instantly I would get a huge amount of response because my email list was growing. And people were responding within the first 5-6 hours of me sending that email. And this is to people that I have no idea who they are, but they're coming to me for advice. So I guess that really, really opened my mind. And it went well, for the first 4 or 5 years of that business, which led me to do other things. I started to consult other companies. I started to speak with lots of small businesses, and I started to develop my own second venture, Insider Internet Success, which is really all about helping somebody go from any idea they've got. They want more time, they want more freedom, take them from any idea they've got to implement everything that's required to build that business and then to launch it, and then to give them whatever training that I can to help them get to 6 figures in the year.
Nice. I like it, man. I like it. That was very quick. You steamrolled through that. I love it. It's good. So, we'll talk to me about some of the email stuff that's been working for you. I mean, you say you're not really doing daily emails. You've kind of got, sounds like you've developed a bit of your own strategy that's working for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I used to I use Infusionsoft as my main tool, and I used to write to, I have a list of about, 15 to 18,000 business owners, and I write to them on a weekly basis initially. And what happened was, I would write to them and I would start to tell them stories, kind of in the Andre Chaperone method / Ben Settle method. And I wasn't really finding my feet initially. And I found that if I could just stick to shorter emails and get across my story, I'd get a lot more responses. That was my theory at the time. And somehow it didn't work. For some reason, the shorter emails were not getting, the same responses as the longer emails that I was doing. I would just write now, for example, and it would, I would write for however long I've got to write. I open up Evernote and write my emails inside Evernote, and I write until I'm done. I don't even stop. I don't think to shorten them. If people are going to read them, they're going to read them. That's my philosophy. But then what happened was I thought, well, let's see what's happening with these emails if I do them on a daily basis, because I've been seeing a lot of people say try emails on a daily basis. You do it a lot also. You used to say, I think, write on a daily basis. Although I got a few unsubscribes initially, I didn't really get that many people leave. In fact, I increased my sales a huge amount more just because I was writing more often and I was therefore in people's inboxes more often with really good quality information. The hardest thing, of course, is coming up with ideas, but I think if you open your eyes and open your ears, you can see them everywhere. I mean, you drive down, something happens on the road, there's an idea to turn around. I read a lot of books, so in every book, there's always ideas to turn around, whether it's fiction or it's nonfiction. And you could take any of the ideas you find and weave them into an idea. For me, for example, I know that when people want to build a business online, they want to do it really because they want more freedom in their life, whether it's time freedom, money freedom, or anything else. The time to spend with their loved ones, this time to do things, traveling. Most of my clients are really financially comfortable already. They don't come to me because they're looking for more money, although they'd love that. They come to me because they're stuck in careers where they just don't have the time, even though they have really comfortable lives. So for them, it's about time. So in my emails, I try to find out what are the things that I'm reading, that I'm seeing, that I'm looking at, that I can then turn into emails, and then I just write. I also try to put together a series of emails. I think that's really important. For example, if there's one topic, for example, this week, right now, as we're recording this, one of the topics of the email series that I'm working on is called Straight Line Philosophy. It's also a book. There's a book called Straight Line Leadership. And I got some ideas from that book. And I thought, well, let me just take this book and write about it for a few days. And so there's different chapters, and I'm picking little things from here and there, literally just one line or two lines from that book, thinking about it myself, and then just rambling about, how to go from point A to point B. There's a straight line, but in this world, we all seem to just zigzag and go around in circles before we get to B instead of just going the straight line. Well, it's the same for you. If you're looking for time and money freedom, how much have you done so far, and why are you not going in that straight line? Why have you been zigzagging, and how have you been circling? And really, the straight line option is open and clear. If you'd like to find out more, then contact me. And I've always seemed to end all my emails so far with, here's my phone number, here's my personal email, just get in touch. And that's how I've received all of my business and more than I can handle. And sometimes there's even a wait list if there's, because I limit the number of people that I'd like to work with. So sometimes there's a waiting list because just of those emails that I write. But for me, what I've come to realize is that in my business, even if I don't do anything today, the only one thing I've got to do is write that email.
Would you ever consider outsourcing that email?
Well, the funny thing is I've been thinking about that, and I've been looking for people in the last, couple of weeks, whether it's copywriters that I've been recommended to or Elance or specialist email people, and I just don't get the sense that they'll be able to write like me. I'm not saying that my writing is really good. I'm just saying that the story and the persona that I've built up and in the way that I write, so long as somebody can replicate that 100%, then it's okay. Otherwise, I risk losing a lot of credibility with my list. And my list is where all of my income gets generated from ultimately.
Yeah.
So most of my stuff I can definitely outsource in my business, but that's one thing that seems to be a little bit more trickier.
Because this is something, this is an interesting when I first got into this and started writing emails, I'm going, I'm going to write emails every day. It's going to be my thing. And, that's one of the most important things to do every day. And now I write most of the emails, actually. But there's a couple that go out. I won't say which ones, but there are a couple that I don't write. And the more I've been finding it is that, I guess it depends on the goals and the individual's goals, where they want to grow their business, where they want to maintain it, if they're trying to move into new territory. But I'm I've just actually hired a guy to write a bunch of emails for the McMethod, which is funny because I don't know what effect this will have. Well, the autoresponding guy saying he's not even going to write his emails. But I feel like along my own journey there was this inflection point, at this point where I sort of thought I can be a copywriter. And it's sort of just an internet guy with like a really small business and that, or I can start to think like a businessman and an entrepreneur and think of building teams and really means like taking my ego out of it and going, what needs to happen to grow the business to free up my own time? And more and more and more, I'm like, man, there's no way someone's going to be able to copy your voice and your personality or any of us like exactly. But is it possible to find somebody who can get a similar result? I reckon you can. Like I reckon anyone get. It's hard though. There's this interesting ego challenge. It's a bit like, well, should I hire that person? Should I hire someone, or I kind of want to do it myself? I feel like I should do it myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely. I think that when I started to think about outsourcing a few years ago, the most important thing for me was to outsource everything except email, just because I was responsible for writing the email because I knew that I could bring in the sales. I could bring in 3 to 5 phone calls per email, sometimes more, that would actually convert, and that's a lot of money for me. Just out of one email. And so every time I felt like I could let it go, I was always hesitant to doing that. But you're right, you can find somebody to do it. At the end of the day, there's going to be this period of time where maybe you'll see some shifts in the number of unsubscribes just because there are new styles of emails, but everybody will get used to it at the end of the day. And so if that frees you up for an hour a day or half hour a day or 20 minutes a day to go and do something else, whether it's business related or not, and you're happier like that, then surely it's worth it completely.
Yeah. Well, I find this is we're going in sort of a different direction right now, but I find this interesting, right? How I find let's say it takes, you can write I've written emails in 10 minutes before, you can do it in 20 minutes, half an hour. It depends how involved it is. But it's interesting how even just the mere fact of having to write the email, it takes 20 minutes, but then there's the mental RAM, the processing time it takes you to switch into email writing mode, write the email, get it uploaded, and send it. I've been finding it's not really just the emails. It's just a lot of stuff that I feel like I've taken for granted. It's just a quick thing. I'll just do that. And the podcast, for example, I used to edit this podcast, and every Friday it would take 3 hours. Which 3 hours in a big day of say 8 hours or maybe even 10 hours, that's not really that much. But 3 hours is quite a lot of hours. From another perspective, it's a bit like 3 hours. That's, if you bill, if you look at consulting or you figure out how much your hours are worth, 3 hours might be $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000, and that's
it's a huge amount of time. I think. I mean, I pretty much just do 5 to 6 hours a day right now when I'm here. I travel a lot, so sometimes I don't even get that. Sometimes it could go a month and I've only done half hour worth of work.
Yeah.
So for me, it's definitely a huge thing. I don't actually send my emails. I just write them inside Evernote and then send that link to an assistant who basically proofreads, sets it up inside Infusionsoft. They know what lists to send it to or what tag groups to send it to, and then they just mail it out. So for me, it's just 20, 25 minutes of writing an email. If I'm really focused, if I've got a really good idea, I'll knock it out in 20 minutes. But sometimes I struggle, of course, like everyone does, and I think that it can take longer, when you don't have a specifically good idea or you don't have a focus, which is why I try to batch my emails into weeks. I try to set up goals of, what do I want to achieve in this week with this email series?
Yeah.
And then I just write focused on that. I found that sometimes when you write on a daily basis and you don't have a week plan of writing or a week theme of writing, sometimes you basically start a thread with somebody. The reason, for example, I'll give you an example. The reason I did the straight line thing this week is because I did the first email. I had no intention of doing the whole week just on this topic. But as soon as I sent the first email, I had one call for my service at that time. I had a few calls, but this one call was really, really interesting. It was just a few days ago. And within 20 minutes, this woman has said she's been on my database for quite a while, and she's connected with me in various different ways. She knows she needs my help, but she hasn't done anything about it. But this one email seemed to struck a chord with her, which is generally how most people get in touch. But within 20 minutes of just chatting with her for the first time ever in my life, she decided to spend $15,000 on our service. Now, what's really interesting for me was that, hey, if that one email about this topic could do that, what if I just focus on turning this topic into a theme for the week and writing around this? What could that do?
Yeah.
So that's how I find my themes. I guess I look out for what really works, what people are saying, what people are responding to, and I get a lot of response. I try to always get people to engage with me, whether it's by replying or whether it's by completing surveys, which, by the way, is another big element of my work, and whether it's just by reading the blog. And so long as people are engaging, and I try to monitor what they're engaging, then I know what to write about.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest challenge, John, is that I'll write it if I don't have any specific thing to write about, any theme, and I just pick a topic for today and I pick a completely different topic for tomorrow, then every single day I'm having to constantly innovate. But I've tried to batch it all into weeks, and I think it's made it hugely more easier, I guess.
Yeah. One thing that I do, I have a product actually called Stories That Sell, and in there I've got 2 methods of coming up with a story to write an email. And method number 1 is, I call it you've got the A to B method and then the B to A method. And the A to B method means that you start off with just anything. Like you might be like, oh, all right, I'm sitting in a coffee shop here in Thailand, and there's an incredible vase, we'd say in Australia, but incredible vase on the table with some gorgeous flowers in there. And, as I was thinking about what to write, so you start off with, you just start writing about anything. Could be like something in the in your environment. It could be a trip that you took last week. Just anything. It doesn't have to have anything to do with the topic at all. And then as you write, you just it's sort of weird how the mind links it up. As you just keep writing stuff, you might say, so the flowers are yellow and they're green. And then when I look at the vases, man, it's really, really intricate. And if you look at it, you can see that there's an incredible amount of craftsmanship that went into it. And you know what? I bet you that craftsman, he probably spent at least 5 years studying the art of pottery, and he's just carrying. And this takes practice, but starting with any random idea whatsoever, and then as you write, the brain gradually sort of finds its way to point B, which is if you want to be a craftsman, or if you want to write great emails, or if you want to be build a business, you're going to have to approach it the same way a craftsman would approach making a vase. You're going to have to train. You're going to have to study. You're going to have to fail. There's going to be problems. You're going to make a crappy vase some days. And sometimes a vase is going to break. But if you have a map, you have a blueprint, then you're much likely to be more successful. Just like if this craftsman who's making a vase, if he's done it before, or someone can show, give him some instructions, like a recipe to make the vase, he's going to be much more successful. And that's where my XYZ product comes in. So that's where you pick anything, and then you write, and then you sort of just weave, and I don't know, it's just the brain's a funny thing, but it kind of just links its way there. And then the other way is to go and do point B, which is point B is like saying, all right, well, you pick the moral of the story. So like the moral might be you don't have enough time because you want to build up the urgency. And that's like, man, what could I say that's going to illustrate, what metaphor illustrates the fact that we're all running out of time? And then you could be like, well, I just read a story about a lady, a 27-year-old who died last week somewhere. And then you tell a story about this 27-year-old died, and it says, we never know when we're all going to die, so there's no time like now to get started.
Yeah.
Exactly. It makes it really easy.
I mean, that's the thing. I always start with the what do I want to achieve from this email? What is the one thing I want to get from this email? And I know it's to get the phone ringing or to get emails responses back. And then I lead on to, okay, well, what are the most pressing issues right now that these people are facing? I also know that, but this is just, if I was to break it down, this is how I would do it. And then, I guess they want more time, they want more freedom, they want to generate more income, they want to have something they can travel with. A business they can run from anywhere in the world. They want to do something that's meaningful to them. They want to do something they're more passionate about. And some of these people have been trying for years. Some of them are new to it. Some of them have ideas, but they don't know where to go. And it's just really about finding the right stories to just share the story, and then, oh, by the way, this is how this connects to this. I mean, those 3 words, by the way, are so important in email. You could just use the word by the way after any story and link it back into what you're doing. It's really quite powerful.
Absolutely. Well, talk to me. I mean, it sounds like you're making it sound really simple, man. I reckon there might be someone listening to this who's thinking, look, I've tried email and I've tried sending stories, and it just either it doesn't work. Or they're like, I just don't think it works. It just doesn't sound reasonable. See, it sounds like what you're saying is that you can have an opt-in page, have some an email list that you're building. As long as you're getting traffic to that page and people are signing up, you just got to write some good stories, have a product or two, and then some back-end stuff to do the upsells, and that's it. That's your business. That's your 6-figure business right there. Is it that simple?
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. But let me break that down a little bit more. I guess that the one thing that people look for is a business that works, where they don't have to put in a huge amount of work, but it still works. And I kind of call it the automated business system, because it's really about finding the right idea, finding the right product. And once you've got those 2 things, then creating a marketing and sales system. I have 2 different parts to it. I call the first one a 24/7 marketing machine. And then the second part is the simple sales funnel. Now, this 24/7 marketing machine is really all that you need to get yourself started with a list. And there's a few parts to it. The first part is that you need to have some kind of money magnet, whether it's a free report, a video, something to give away that, the user will find really valuable. And in exchange for that, on the landing page that you can build, maybe using lead pages, you get them to put in their name and email address. Yeah. And so they'll put in their name and email address, they'll join your list, whether it's with Aweber or whatever anybody uses, and then you start getting people into your list in exchange for the money magnet. And of course, the money magnet or the free report or the free video is really important, because that conveys, some advice to that person to say, I know you're looking for help. Here's how I can help. Here's something that you should try right away. And if you'd like to know more, then, join the list. So that's really all the 24/7 money marketing machine is. And really, the goal of that is just to get people onto your database. So if you do that at the most simplest level, without having, later on you can have multiple reports, you can have multiple videos for different groups of people. You can start thinking about, I target this group, and this group has, for example, I target business owners, and business owners have issues with time. They have issues with their website. They have issues with, maybe they don't know how to blog, but they need a blog. They don't know how to create video, but they need to create video. You could have individual guides or reports for all of these things and give every single one of them away, all leading to a specific landing page, right? And into your email list. So, but when you're starting out, one report, one landing page, one email account, and then you start emailing. And as you're emailing, you then drive people through your emails. Again, your stories. It could just be, how-to advice. It could be all about films. I mean, if you've seen, films are really, really good. Everyone seems to connect with films and music and stuff like that. So if you've seen something famous or funny or something, maybe on Friends or The Big Bang Theory or whatever like that, and you can use that in your email. And whip that around and turn that around into what it is you're selling. Even if you're selling something to do with gardening, for example, something really different, not internet marketing. You're selling something to do with gardening, and you see on a TV show that somebody's watering that plant, and then they say something funny about that plant. You could use that directly into your email. I saw this film Night and Day on Saturday, and I think it's Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz.
That's a great movie. Yeah, I know the movie.
And in there, Tom Cruise says, "Someday is code for never." And it was really interesting. I heard that and it clicked to me. And then I was writing an email yesterday, actually. And in that email, I included the words "someday is code for never," because I was writing about the fact that if you don't do something now, you're never going to do it. And if you don't take action today, when is someday going to come? Maybe it's just not the way to do it. And I just remembered that I watched that film. I had written that down because I always try to write things down if I hear them, otherwise I'll forget. And I used that. So just by that one line, "someday is code for never," 5 words, I just wrote an email. And I thought about that. I thought about what it meant, and I try to write my own opinion of it. And at the end of the day, there's no right and wrong with email. I found that you can write whatever you want. I've written about radical stuff like meditation and stuff like that I'm interested in. And, there's no right or wrong. Some people like it, some people don't. But you're writing what you want to write. It's your personality. It's your life. You can write about it. And no one's going to say that it's right or wrong, as long as you bring it up and connect it up with what you feel is valuable for them. At the end of the day, if you're just self-serving, constantly, then it's not going to work. But anyway, so you write these emails, and then you direct them to, in my process, what I do is I have the second segment. I try to create different segments, and it just makes life easier for me. And I have this thing called the simple sales system, which is again about automating the sales process. So it could be, a webinar to a sales letter. It could be a sales letter, a sales video. It could be any of these things with a payment system. And I'm using all my emails to direct people to those places where they can buy. Just like, for example, when you write your emails, you direct people to your McMaster's webpage. They can read everything they want to read about, and then they can sign up to whatever, group they'd like to sign up to there.
Yeah. I like it, man. I like it. Talk to me about the traffic. Because a lot of people, like, when it comes to this, like, all right, so I got the emails. I know what I got to do there. And everyone's got a different approach with traffic. Like, if someone's got a landing page, they've got some emails, and they need traffic. What do you tell them to do?
So it's a really interesting thing. And, for a long time, everybody seems to want to do Facebook and Facebook pages and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of this social media stuff. And the thing about social media is, no matter how much, for me anyway, I guess there are people out there that make it work really well. But for me, I just feel like it requires way too much time and involvement for me to actually see a result. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to build a business where I'm hands-off. It's automated. It says what it does on the tin. And if you're going to sit there for hours and schedule posts and tweets and then keep up to date and then and do all of that, it's all great, but you have to grow the fans on the fan page. Nobody tells you how to do that and apart from advertising. So for me, the biggest win for growing my email list has been advertising.
Yeah.
And I've done advertising in multiple different ways. I've done advertising on pay-per-click. So that is, paying for ads on Facebook to show up and lead them directly to my free reports. I'm always giving away the free reports. I never talk about my products. I never talk about my services. I never talk about my email. I just talk about my free reports. And so long as people find my free reports and sign up, they'll get on my list. And then it's up to me to write those emails. So pay-per-click advertising. The second thing I've tried, which has worked really well for me, is solo email blasts. So I'll go out there and find people that have databases of people that are in my target audience, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and I'll ask them, to mail a endorsement email to their database, but I'll pay them for it. So I'll pay, if they promise me 1,000 clicks, and I usually try to buy with the clicks. If they promise me 1,000 clicks onto that link, which goes to my landing page, basically, then I might pay $400 or $600 depending on who I'm talking to, and I'll pay for that because I know that my landing page converts really well with endorsement emails. There are times when if somebody mails out for me and they get 1,000 clicks, I'll probably convert 400 to 500, maybe sometimes 600 of those people as new subscribers. So I definitely grow my databases like that. And I never knew at first, part of doing traffic is knowing whether it works, because you can spend as much money as you want. And if it doesn't work for you, then, you may be getting people into your email list. But when I say if it doesn't work, I mean, if you're not seeing sales as a result of those people that have come onto your email list, then it's pointless.
Yeah.
I could say that I've got 600 people opt in, but how many of those people have actually contacted me, number one, and number two, purchased? So for me in my business, because I the stuff I sell is a little bit high ticket, the cycle is longer. It takes a little bit longer for people to get in touch with me. So in between, not only am I doing a lot of webinars or free webinars, once a month or twice a month, I'll try to do a free webinar for my database. I don't expect to sell a huge lot from the webinar. I just do it as an engagement tool so that they can hear me, they can see me, they can see my material, they can spend an hour with me learning new things at no cost. And hopefully, at some point they'll feel like, hey, this guy knows what he's doing. Their system seems to be really good, and I want to get in touch.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, I'm just writing email all day long, and as great as great as it could be, and as engaging and entertaining as the emails are, that you still aren't proving yourself with what you know. Yeah. So I do the webinar, I do the blog as tools in between to convert. I write a blog every Thursday, like an article. So essentially, I guess the traffic, solo ads and pay-per-click are the two biggest things. And then what I do is I also buy databases. Like, I'm not saying like recommendations. I buy mailing lists.
Yep.
And so I buy mailing lists and I send them postcards. So I send them a postcard to basically, it's a small postcard, black and white. It really says with a color, and the color is the image of the free report. And it says, we're giving away this free report on 10 things about your website that you need to fix to get working right away.
Yeah.
We'd like you to come and get it. Here's the URL. And that's it. It's literally a single-sided postcard. The back of it just has their address and it goes in their mail. And it's delivered offline. And the reason for this is, and it seems to work really well, and the reason for this is because, in my opinion, is that people just aren't receiving that much mail anymore.
Yep.
And if they are getting mail, then they're not getting mail that promotes this kind of stuff. So it stands out. And it's really, simple. It's a big headline with the URL and the picture of the report. There's nothing more to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people just pick it up and they go in, and so therefore, because there's nothing much to it, by the way, it's also really cheaper for me because all I'm doing is printing a black headline, a URL with a picture on like a yellow or a white card, and I'm mailing it out.
Yeah.
And I'll mail out 1,000 at a time, and I'll see the kind of result I get. Every URL, I try to keep it different to try and code and see what results I'm getting. And then sometimes, if those people haven't responded, I'll do a second mail to the same list. Just because, 2 hits is better than one. Seeing an ad twice is better than seeing it once, which is also why daily email works really well. So that's what I'll do. And those are my 3 methods that I really focus on to just grow my list. And I know that if I grow my list and if I keep writing email, because it's a system, because it's all proven to work essentially, and everybody can do this. As long as you're growing a list, as long as you're writing email, you're going to generate income.
I like that. I think that's a good note to end on. As long as you're writing an email, as long as you're generating a list, doing all that stuff, you're going to make some money. Kavit, man, it's been good to have you on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Before we wrap this up, though, I know you've got your service. So tell me a bit about that and where the best place where people should go if they're interested in learning more.
Oh, yeah, cool. I appreciate that. The service is called Automated Business System, and it's really about taking anybody who has a business idea or who's tinkering with a business idea. They're not sure if it's profitable. We sit down with them, we work through that whole process to make sure it's really profitable, and then we'll plan out what their business model should be. And then I have a team here of a lot of different designers, developers, etc., and they basically work together to build the entire business and launch it. So once the business is launched, within about 6 weeks, we work together, you and I, to market your business. So we learn about all the different strategies that are required to grow it. And our goal is to get you to 100K in a year. It's very simple. It's straightforward. But what I'd like to offer, actually, John, is I have a CD that I recorded It's called How to Launch Your Business Online and Make Six Figures in a Year. And in there, I walk through this entire process in a lot more detail with a lot more, tips and content, so somebody could actually potentially start a few things on their own. And so I'd like to give that CD to your readers or your listeners for free, actually, if that's okay.
Sure, it's okay.
Yeah, insiderinternetsuccess.com/free CD. So that's www.insiderinternetsuccess.com/free CD. And you can get that MP3 as well as that CD from there.
Awesome. Mate, I'll have a link to that in the show notes at themcmethod.com under your in the podcast in the show notes right there. So, Kavit, thanks again for coming on the show, man. This has been good.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's really good to speak to you.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening. If you want to discover more insider tips, tricks, and secrets about driving sales with email marketing, sign up for daily email tips from the autoresponder guy. Go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast, sign up, confirm your email address, and I'll send you daily emails on how to improve your email marketing and make more sales via email. You'll find out why open rates don't matter and the 7-letter word that underlies all effective marketing and much more.